Okay, we're gonna go seriously overtime on this one, so I'm gonna try to get this done in the second part of the video. The next couple we are gonna is Lad Russo and Lula, and this is a really weird couple because they're both basically completely insane. Lad is the leader of the homicidal maniacs on the train, and he's a mafia assassin, but he's also completely fucking crazy. He's insane, and he likes to kill people. He has a particular thing he likes. He likes to kill people who think that they're never gonna die, and that's kind of a, that's already a kind of a weird thing because he actually spares one guy who kind of gives up at the end because he doesn't want to kill people who just wanna die. And his relationship with Lua is weird because the reason he loves Lua is because he has this thing about that he wants to kill pretty much everybody in the world, and then Lua at the very end. And she's okay with that, because Lua just wants to be killed by Lad. For some reason, she's really fascinated by Lad in this sense. And I don't know what it is. And this is, unfortunately, this is one character relationship. Lad has a very prominent role in this series. He has an all-out battle with the rail tracer and all that. But Lua is kind of left in the background. We never really find out what the hell is this relationship based on, except their sort of mutual insanity. And this is kind of a weird thing with Lad. He just has a thing with death and killing people and being crazy. And that's the thing. He's in the English dub, he has the most amazing, gravelly voice. But he still has that sort of boyish silliness and sort of happiness, crazy happiness going on about him. He's one of the most. He's not only just a really weird, sick character in certain ways, but he's also part of one of the most unusual relationships that I've seen in an anime. Okay, next up is Shani and Vino, a.k.a. Claire Stanfield, a.k.a. the Rail Tracer. And I think Vino comes pretty much the closest. I kind of got on the whole train segment of the story. I kind of did get a sort of a comic book character vibe from this. Baccano is actually based on a light novel series. But anyway, I kind of got the feeling like there was a bit of a superhero thing going on with Vino, although it's really ambiguous at first whether or not he is a good guy or a bad guy, because first of all, he seems like he's just an insane killer, but then it turns out that not only is he a mob hitman, but because he works as a conductor, he has this weird sense of loyalty to the railroad, and anybody who starts shit on the train gets killed by Vino. That means all the crazy cultists and lads guys, the psychopaths, and Chane is actually one of the crazy cultists, except the cultists want to kill him because the cultists follows, you can see in the background, Huey LaForêt, Chane's dad, who's one of the original Immortals. They want to follow in his footsteps, and I guess they're kind of jealous at Chane because Chane is privy to some secret knowledge about the Immortals. We never find out what that is, but she gave her voice to protect that secret, so she's essentially completely mute. She's not supposed to give any sort of voices, not even breathing sounds, although I think I heard her breathe in a couple of episodes, so that might not be completely true. And it's also her relationship with her father is a bit of a weird issue. It seems to be like a genuinely loving father-daughter relationship, but except towards the end, you kind of get the feeling like Huey is perhaps a little manipulating her daughter a little bit. And their relationship is really weird because Vino, it comes off as being such a weird, over-the-top, even borderline supernatural character, and a complete nutjob at first. But then he falls in love with Shani, and suddenly he becomes much more human towards the end of the series. I think compared to Lad and Lua, this is a much more conventional couple. But they're both really dangerous killers, which is kind of weird. Chane kicks a lot of ass, by the way, and Vino just kills a lot of people. He's covered in blood through half the series. Okay, and this is the last couple we're going to talk about, and there isn't a lot to say about these guys. So it's Furo and Ennis, and Ennis is more or less a clone of the guy, a female clone of the guy, who is sort of one of the main antagonists in the series. It's this creepy Russian dude named Zillard. And Furo is a up-and-coming camorristo in a mafia family, and he comes off as being sort of and actually this is something that they joke about in the first episode, is that he comes off being sort of the typical protagonist type. And their relationship is actually, it's not very much in the focus. Ennis is, because Ennis has this weird little episode with Isaac and Miria, and they become friends. And Ennis is supposed to be this emotionless, cruel killer, and yet all she wants is friends at the end of the day. So that's kind of a weird thing. And Firo's the sort of, he's in the mafia, but he's a sort of a stand-up kind of guy that he protects the weak, and he has generally a better sense of moral. He has a better sense of morals than most of the characters. He's in the mafia, but still. And really, there's not a lot to say about this couple. It's kind of cute, although I'm starting to get the feeling that they're not so much a romantic couple. They're more of a friendly couple. They're more like friends, although it is pretty obvious. And I've actually read somewhere that perhaps in the light novels they get married at some point. I'm not sure if that's completely accurate, but that's something I read anyway. Now, there are a lot more supporting and interesting characters in this series, and I've only scratched the surface. I only focused on the couples because they were easy to get through. But there's a lot of people here I don't mention, like this guy here is very important, this guy over here is very important, and this little kid over here is also extremely important. But the thing is, the whole appeal of Baccano, it's not just the unchronological storytelling style, it's also the fact that there are no real central characters. I mean, there are important characters, there are supporting and side characters, but there's not like a single primary protagonist, and this is actually something that's referred to in the first episode. There's this guy called Mr. Vice President. We don't know his real name, but he's the vice president of the Daily Days, which is this newspaper, who's also a big part of the story. And he has this pupil, I guess, called Carol. And I love, by the way, in the Japanese dub, he always pronounces her name Carol. Always with that. It doesn't matter what he said before. It could be Carol. He turns kind of evil always when he says her name, and that's kind of lousy, definitely. Not so much in the English version. It's much more appropriate there. But it kind of points out that it's almost useless to try to sort of narrow it down to maybe one or two characters who are at the core of it, because really all of these characters are at the core of it, and there's much more interesting supporting characters that I didn't get to mention, and that's one of the reasons. Baccano is also a series that keeps on that really warrants to be watched multiple times, because you're going to catch a lot of things that you missed the first time you watched it. And also it helps if you watch it first in the Japanese and then in the English dub, because the English dub also picks up on things that you might have not picked up in the original Japanese, because there's quite a lot of exposition and stuff that you may accidentally miss because you're paying so much attention to the subtitles and stuff. But anyway, this is a really good series. It had a really good story. Admittedly, if the story had been much more chronological, it may have not made its way to my top 10. But now I'm willing to say, because it's so well thought out, it's so well planned, and has so many interesting characters in it, this is one of the best anime series I've ever seen, and I highly recommend people check this one out.